No, they're bonkers, aren't they?
They are bonkers.
They're absolutely mad, the Targaryens. They're a right old bunch.
And emotional. They're so emotional.
Yeah.
And they can't talk to each other.
They're quite a cross family, deep down.
They are.
I think they need a great deal of therapy.
They do. They do.
Group therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones House of the Dragon update video. Well, my friends, it looks like Entertainment Weekly once again is giving us their exclusive behind-the-scenes look at House of the Dragon's first season. They released their new article only a few hours ago, which also includes several new photos as well as their own teaser video. Not only are we getting another great look at the actors on set, but we're also getting a hell of a lot more information regarding how the series was made and how this amazing story will unfold during that first season. For those of you who want to see everything for yourself, there will be a link down below. I would highly recommend watching their whole teaser video, as well as reading the new article because, as I said, there's a lot of interesting information to go over. Now, let me show you some of the interesting things that were said. The headline reads, "Burning Down the House, How Game of Thrones Enters a New Age with House of the Dragon." Now, ever since Game of Thrones ended in 2019, everyone in Hollywood seems to want their own version of a high fantasy, Emmy-winning blockbuster series. In fact, only a few weeks after House of the Dragon airs its first episode in late August, Amazon will follow up with an even bigger swing at the brass ring with their new Lord of the Rings series. George R. R. Martin said he's happy for the Lord of the Rings show to succeed, but he wants House of the Dragon to do better. If they win 6 Emmys, and I hope they do, I hope we win 7, he said. And maybe, the next Game of Thrones is indeed Game of Thrones. That is, if viewers can get over the discourse surrounding the original show. For better or worse, everyone had and still has something to say about how Game of Thrones series creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss ended the final season of their adaptation of George R. R. Martin's novels. The most barbarous critics suggested it ruined all of Game of Thrones for them, which actor Paddy Considine, who will be King Viserys Targaryen on House of the Dragon, can understand, even if he doesn't wholly agree. When you live with something for so many years and watch those characters on that adventure, I think fans and critics alike start to write their own endings, he said. I feel like a bit of that happened, and I bet I was one of them as well. Fans are always going to have something to say about the way a beloved thing comes to an end, adds showrunner Ryan Condal, who co-created House of the Dragon with George R. R. Martin. What they say doesn't really affect the way we handle this show. We have this giant legacy to carry forward, and we want to do that in the best way that honors what came before, but also doesn't do the thing that I think a lot of sequels do. Here's what you loved wrapped up in a different way. Now, it's hard to disagree with him when having these discussions in front of a man-made set like Dragonstone, the ancestral seat of House Targaryen, where a boiler embedded beneath the stage releases smoke up through the floors around the sharp black stone to evoke the active volcano that encases the castle. At the same time, it's also hard not to see House of the Dragon as a response, in some ways, to the fan feedback. Throughout the show's 8 seasons, the depiction of Game of Thrones female characters became a big discussion among viewers. House of the Dragon now has women more at the forefront, with a focus on Rhaenyra Targaryen and her childhood best friend Alicent Hightower, the Hand of the King's daughter. Their relationship is at the center of a chasm that threatens to tear Westeros apart, for reasons that are already clear to book readers. Based on George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood, which chronicles the rich history of House Targaryen, House of the Dragon goes back hundreds of years before Daenerys and Jon Snow, to a historical event known as the Dance of the Dragons. It's at the height of the Targaryen rule in Westeros, and Considine's King Viserys has chosen his firstborn Rhaenyra as the heir to the Iron Throne. The lords of Westeros swear fealty to her, but when Viserys conceives a son, the young Aegon, in the following years, the once unified house is split in two over the matter of succession. The conflict, framed on the series through the relationship between Rhaenyra and Alicent, leads to what is most likely the bloodiest civil war the country has ever seen. The events building up to and during the war span decades, according to Martin's Fire and Blood. House of the Dragon will unfold linearly over those decades, with Millie Alcock and Emily Carey as Rhaenyra and Alicent, the young girls before Emma Darcy and Olivia Cooke take over the roles as adults. Ryan Condal says the Dance of the Dragons, first mentioned in the novels through ballads sung by bards, was always Martin's idea when HBO began debating what Ice and Fire's story to tell next. There's a saying in Westeros: every time a new Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin in the air and the world holds its breath to see how it will land. Madness and greatness are on opposite sides. Well, there are a lot of Targaryens in House of the Dragon, and also a lot of dragons. Under the rule of King Viserys, the country has seen more than 70 years of peace. It's a time of great wealth and decadence, which is one reason why the Iron Throne is so decked out before things come crashing down. It's also the age when most dragons flew the skies of Westeros. Just about every Targaryen has their own mount, a stark contrast to Game of Thrones, which saw Daenerys as one of the last remaining Targaryens and dragons virtually extinct. I wanted to tell a story about the height of Rome before the fall, and see the Targaryen dynasty at its very apex, so that we can understand a thing that was lost when it all fell apart, Ryan Condal explains. At the center of the story is Rhaenyra, whom the executive producer says is the most important role in the show in many ways. Miguel Sapochnik, who also directs 3 of the first season's episodes, agrees. I'm so excited about them being the face of the show. If the gods flipped a coin for the birth of Daemon, the volatile brother of Viserys and another heir to the throne, Smith, who is 39, says the coin is still in motion. It hasn't quite hit the ground yet, and until its final doom, we won't find out which side he's on. Daemon is likely the Targaryen of the age most skilled in combat, wielding the famed Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister, one of the ancestral blades of his house. Now, to understand the heart of Daemon, you need only look at his dragon Caraxes, our gargantuan winged red steed. Matt Smith thinks of the beast as a very grumpy, surly sort. Caraxes is constantly annoyed, but Daemon loves that about him. He's like a massive rabid dog in many ways, who only relaxes around Daemon, says Smith. He's almost an untrainable dragon in many respects. One could say the same thing of Daemon. At any given moment, Daemon could be honoring his brother's decrees or spending time in brothels with his closest confidant, Mysaria, a woman who's made a life for herself after being sold more times than she could count. Matt Smith goes back to the coin analogy and says Daemon is constantly flipping sides in this way, whether that's siding with Viserys or his own interests. I don't think it's about ambition to the throne and all that, the actor clarifies. I think a lot of that is about his brother. Viserys doesn't even ride a dragon anymore, yet he was capable of mounting Balerion, the Black Dread, the beast that once bonded with Aegon Targaryen, the conqueror of Westeros. King Viserys understands the responsibility that comes with commanding dragons and their ability to destroy the realm, says Considine, who is 48, who wanted to bring a tragic tone to the character. Now, the mantra we had for him was that he's a good man, a bad king, because he just wants to make everyone happy. But also, Viserys has an ego. He's got a great tragedy in his life, but there is a part of him that's going, how am I going to be remembered in hundreds of years? They don't remember peaceful kings. They remember warriors. They remember tyrants. Nobody alive in this story has ever seen a war or a meaningful conflict, Kondo elaborates. Yes, there have been skirmishes and tournaments, but we're living in this society based on conflicts for power. We're watching a moment in time where every man has been trained for battle since birth, but battle doesn't always happen. That build-up energy leaks out from the cracks and starts to wear on itself, where you almost need a release of war in order to keep the whole thing from boiling over. Though the Targaryens and their dragons are in the title, House of the Dragon is truly anchored by Rhaenyra and Alicent, who we'll first see in that honeymoon glow of friendship before their adult lives become consumed with fire and blood. They are central female characters who were at once credited and also blamed with the war. Alicent grew up in the Red Keep as the daughter of the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower. With virtually no life outside of King's Landing, she forms a fast and immediate bond with Rhaenyra. The actresses feel that Alicent is misunderstood based on how she's written in Fire and Blood, but that's by design. The novel is less of a literary narrative and more of a historical document written by Archmaester Gyldain, who often describes events through those who say to know what happened. History, as viewers will come to find out, rarely gets any of these characters right. Rhaenys Targaryen's marriage to Lord Corlys Velaryon reflects the deep bond between their houses that goes back to the conquering of Westeros. The Targaryens own the skies, and the Valerians own the seas. The ruler of Driftmark, House Valerion's ancestral seat, inherits the name Lord of the Tides and is often granted a seat among the ruling Targaryen king's small council. The most famous of all the Valerians is Lord Corlys, nicknamed the Sea Snake after his ship. He's an explorer. He's traversed farther than any before him, bringing back riches that have made House Valerion one of the most wealthy institutions in all of Westeros. Now, when it comes to Lord Corlys Velaryon, actor Steve Toussaint says no one wants to F with him. The Targaryens have dragons, but still, they don't want to lose the whole ocean, which he commands. He knows he has power, and he knows that they need him. He's this fearless guy. He's very rich now, and he likes everyone to see that he is rich. But as the actor, I have to find a way to humanize it. Steve Toussaint came to think of Lord Corlys more like Tywin Lannister, in part because he auditioned for the role with lines of Charles Dance's Game of Thrones dialogue, but also because the actor saw the Sea Snake as ruthlessly dedicated to his family, even if it doesn't always come through in the smoothest of ways. The Sea Snake is a father and wants what he thinks is best for his children, the actor says before clarifying that the character is still much more at home on the battlefield or at sea. It's much simpler then, he says. If you don't do it right, you die. That's it. There's no gray area. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, there is a whole lot of information in the new article released by Entertainment Weekly. I would highly recommend reading it for yourself because I only scratched the surface in this video. There is a link down below. I would also recommend watching their whole teaser video, which is also embedded inside of the article. I think it's fascinating stuff that gives us a great idea of what we will see in the first season of House of the Dragon. As always, let me know what all of you think about this down below. I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. I want to thank all of you for watching the video. I have a hell of a lot more videos heading your way in the following days. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you again very soon. Bye.